Welcome to Jenkins and Jonez on the Volume Podcast Network. It is Thursday, September 2nd. This is our second take doing the intro, which means I remembered the date this time, which is a good sign. We have two things to talk about. Not a lot of things to talk about. Two things, including the thing that everyone on Twitter tweeted at us to talk about, which you should have known we were going to talk about. And we're also talking about the second half of They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us, our first book pick for Book Club 2.0. As always, Jenkins and Jonez is hosted by my good friends, the beheadphoned LeJethro Jenkins, a.k.a. John.
What's that, Bubba's? I do have my headphones on. We are ready to record. We do not have to start over again. My bad.
And Tyler, a.k.a. Dragonfly Jones.
Hey, everybody, have a good...
We've all got our
You
our
added a
calf
little
cams.
sauce to it, dog.
You see, if you give him multiple takes at the white guy intro voice,
gotta jazz it up a little bit, guys.
he's moving progressively further south. If we do a third or fourth take, he will be in Mexico.
First, you feel me?
I'm Mike, aka Gardy B, and I'm very proud to announce. Normally, we leave the sponsorship ad talk for the actual ads, but we have a new sponsorship I'm so excited about. We have to mention it up top. We are the official podcast of Bishop Sycamore High School.
Let's go.
We did it.
Let's get it.
We did it. We made it, guys.
I want to
We're
thank the
here.
whole team. A lot of work went into pulling that together. I guess they had some sponsorship opportunities open up recently, and we appreciate them thinking of Jenkins and Jonez. Obviously, this is, I think, really the only thing I'm interested in talking about with anyone at this current moment in time. But it was funny. I feel like I had 50 people. This is what it's like to be Tyler all the time. I feel like I had 50 people tweet at me like, you guys have to talk about this on the podcast. It's like, no fucking shit. We're going to talk about this on the podcast. Gentlemen, to lay the scene, ESPN televised a high school football game between IMG Academy, which is also a fake high school, and just by the way,
Hey, we're keeping it a stack. You feel me?
and Bishop's. I have a guy who teaches there who emails me every time I call him a fake high school on our shit at the 562, and I tell him every time it's a fake high school. I don't know what to tell you. They played Bishop Sycamore High School in a game that was televised on ESPN, and Bishop Sycamore High School mascot, the Scammers, are like Icarus. They flew a little too close to the sun. The number one rule of any scam is you don't fucking take it on national television, bro.
Hey, what the fuck?
Fake school. Like a lot of these prep schools set up just to be sort of a football team. It turns out that some of the players on the team are older. I have not read a lot of journalistic articles about this. The jokes are much funnier than the facts. But gentlemen, what did you think? What is your feeling about possibly the greatest scam I can remember? So many people were scammed in the scamming of this scam.
I want to know. Look, there's a whole lot of wild boys in this scenario, but I feel like the coaches of Bishop Sycamore are the wildest of the wild boys if we're doing some wild boy power rankings here, because how are you so bold to take this scam to fucking nationally televised sports leader, the mothership ESPN? Like, that's what tripped me out. Like, we know about fucking, fake high schools running these scams with, fake JUCO players all the time. We hear about that shit all the time. But to take that shit to ESPN is when I was like, bro, y'all are wilding for real. That's what got me.
The head coach has a felony arrest warrant out.
For
in his
fraud,
name.
right? Like,
yeah. And he went on ESPN.
for fraud. ESPN committing fraud.
Do we see this all the time? No. There's a bunch of high schools that have
there's
JUCO age motherfuckers playing for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting to me. But isn't it more than the coaches that get you on ESPN? You can't be a coach can call up ESPN like, yo, we're playing IMG. You should show this fucking game. Isn't there has to be like a whole slew of motherfuckers that's in on this scam that are
I had a debate with
dressed up in suits and shit, pretending to be other motherfuckers. Like, this is wild.
I had a debate with friends of mine about what was the wildest scam. And I use the word scam instead of catfish because I enjoy scam. I enjoy the concept of scamming. I've been a fan of that for a lot. Just like heisting is funnier to say than stealing. You know what I mean? So is this a wilder scam than the Manti Te'o shit? And I said yes, just because of how many more people were scammed in the.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, all of us know someone who's lied about having a girlfriend. Right? I mean, that Manti Te'o shit, that was standard fare. It just so happened he was a fucking, prominent college football player, so that's why that shit took off. How many motherfuckers, scammed their way into having a whole school on ESPN, bro?
He faked her fucking death, nigga. Like, there's nothing standard about that, nigga. That is some psychopathic shit.
No one shed any tears over Bishop Sycamore High School. People were like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like that whole situation, he basically was like Danielle Steele or whatever. Like he successfully, like a fiction was created that he was wrapped up in or whatever. That
He was a
successfully
world
moved
builder. He built a world around a fake fucking human and sold that shit to us, nigga. That is wild, nigga. That nigga need to be on the Marvel team, okay? That shit's not standard fare. You feel me? He's a creator.
Let Manti Te'o re-envision the final scene of Game of Thrones.
He's the Picasso of fucking scammers, nigga. You feel what I'm saying? Like, this right here was, I think ESPN fucked up more than they were scammed. You feel what I'm saying? Like, nigga, yeah, they had to do some type of research prior, you would imagine. You feel what I'm saying?
ESPN
That's on them.
ESPN is passing that buck like a motherfucker. Like there is supposed to be an agency that was supposed to have vetted these high schools, and they're like, "Hey, them." They're saying us. They're like, "These motherfuckers," like Paragon or some shit like that. They're like, "These motherfuckers are the ones who fucked up." Like they passing that buck like a motherfucker right now, bro.
Fucking snitches, nigga.
Nothing turns
nothing
turns people to snitches faster like getting scammed in public. You know? No, that wasn't me. That was my mom. You know what I mean? Just like immediately.
I didn't get scammed. That was shit on me. That was them niggas. No. They was on your network, my nigga. Dude, it was like, wasn't it like was it the main station or ESPN2 or something like that? Like, I remember watching it because people were talking about how, like, prior to the game even ending, motherfuckers was saying like people from that area were saying how this is like nobody understands how this school operates. And it's like it's a scam of a fucking charter school. And so I turned to the game when it was like 100-0 instead of 150-0. I think it ended up being like 52-0. You know what I'm saying? But like to check it out, like, dude, I don't know, man. Like that shit is wild as fuck. That's only, to me, that's on ESPN, dog. You can't have that shit. More
it's
than
on
the scammers.
everyone.
I don't think it's really on the scammers to me, nigga. Like, they probably were shocked. Like, oh, for real? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't even do that much. This ain't even the best scam we pulled off, my nigga. You feel what I'm saying?
It's like the cracks in this shit started happening with the announcing team who are like, bro, this roster list they gave us is trash. We looked up famous alumni. We found nothing. We went into the fucking recruiting portal to see who the 5 stars are, who they said they have on this team. We found nothing. Like, it's basically the commenting team who was trying to be prepared and be on their shit. The one group of people who are actually trying to do their job in this scenario were the ones who kind of, cracked the armor here. Like, hold up, what the fuck is going on here?
They were apologizing on television.
Yeah.
Because it was like 60-0, like 15 minutes into the game, wasn't it? I mean, the other thing that's funny, like this was a fake prep school with older dudes, and they also got fucking dragged.
That's wild to me. I'm like, y'all, you brought JUCO niggas in here and got your ass whooped. You brought grown men in this motherfucker, legal ass motherfuckers that can go buy a beer. Full bearded motherfuckers coming in here and getting whooped by some high schoolers. That's wild. That's how you know IMG is a fake high school too.
Yeah.
Because no regular high school ain't gonna beat them. You know what I mean? By 60 points.
That's the funniest, most humbling part of this is you got grown ass men, grown ass 21-year-olds on that fucking roster who are, probably still have these pipe dreams of making the NFL, who are probably thinking, man, coaching politics was fucking me up. Coach ain't never want to give me no playing time. It's my time to shine. And these motherfuckers out here getting bodied by some 10th graders. I think that is like the biggest dose of reality that those motherfuckers had. Like, bro, this shit just ain't for us, man. It might be time to goddamn go be a family man and get that CDL or something, bro.
The CDL.
Get that HVAC certification, dog. The football days
Go be
done,
an Orkin man, my nigga.
Go install them DirecTV satellites, bro, because this football shit ain't panning out for you, homie.
The universe called them trash on ESPN in front of everybody, nigga. That's some wild shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, the announcers probably, they'd already done their prep and knew something was up, it sounds like. But if you've seen the clip of the teams running out, I mean, it's like 3 of those dudes tripped running out of the tunnel, bro.
Dog, man.
It looks like someone said they look like little giants running out.
Yeah. Actually, what people should do is, I want a mini doc. I want at least a 30 for 30 on this. I need some background. How did this happen? You know what I mean?
Can I be completely honest with you? The 3 of us could make this happen in about an hour. I mean, all you need to, so if you look at, they just use a fake address, they use an address as someone's house, right? And they set it up. But the reason I say IMG is a fake high school is it's also one of these prep schools. People send their kids to Florida to train and go to school at fucking IMG Academy. A lot of them are doing independent studies, which means they're not actually in class at any point. They just have to complete a certain amount of work, you know what I mean, in order to get the credit. But the CIF, which is the organizing body over high school sports in California, they banned teams. You cannot play IMG Academy because the CIF says it's not a real fucking high school. Because you know what? It's not a real fucking high school. It's a series of sports teams with an academic component. And that is becoming overwhelming. That is happening more and more. And so IMG ends up getting scammed into playing these dudes because a ton of organizing bodies, I think they can't play in Texas.
Right,
I think they can't play in Ohio. So they can't play anybody anymore. And they can't play in Florida. They can't play where they are. So they have to schedule games against other schools that are kind of set up like this. Now, IMG, significantly more of a high school than, Bishop fucking Sycamore or whatever. But they're still not in an organizing body. They can't play for a state championship. You know what I'm saying? They're not part of regular high school sports either. This was much more common in basketball with prep schools, Montverde and a lot of these other schools that really are much more like schools, but that take a kid for a prep year. So you graduate high school, you reclassify, you do a prep year, and then you still maintain your eligibility, right?
Oak Hill, you know what I mean?
Oak Hill, Montverde. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the teams that when you look at high school basketball national rankings, it's like you have teams that are high schools where there are kids who go to school there who don't play sports, who are in the marching band or whatever, are competing against 19-year-old high school graduates, in these prep programs or whatever. And all I'll say is this: being a local sports writer for the last 15 years, I'm not surprised by fucking anything. You could trick these parents into anything because they are crazy. Such a huge percentage of kids at this point who are among the elite athletes in California are holdbacks, where they redid 8th grade. Yeah. They do 8th grade twice so that they can get their ages lined up and stuff. And I'm just like, I understand the value of a college scholarship to a family, especially if it's a family where, people haven't gone to college before, but that's your kid's life, man. You know what I mean? Let your kids go to high school with their friends next year.
You know what's wild too? That year in difference in 8th and 7th grade feels like 8 years. You feel what I'm saying? I knew a dude who I played on, when we played on a traveling team, AAU ball in 7th grade. His dad held him back in 6th grade. So he played a year up, but when he was playing for the school, he was a year back. You feel what I'm saying? And he was killing them niggas, dog.
I honestly, a lot of sports writers really judge parents who do holdbacks. I honestly don't. If my grandpa didn't get a degree from Rutgers on the GI Bill, I would be the 8th person in a 2-bedroom apartment in New Jersey still, probably. You know what I mean? I get what a college scholarship means to the direction your family points. But to me, it's also just a sign of like I said, you could get these people to do anything. There are people who are paying money that they could be saving for college to give their kids exposure or whatever. And like all these prep schools, a lot of this shit's the same way. But someone tried to do this in Southern California. During the shutdown when it didn't look like there was going to be high school football last year. They said, we're going to start a club football team and a prep school so you can hold back as often as you want. And we will, we're going to take over like high school football. Seriously. It's not, I believe Brian Gumbel's having them on. I was interviewed for a documentary about it. We went out and covered the shit. You know what I mean? Like this stuff is everywhere. It's just, it does not usually get on ESPN.
Isn't it required to have a certain amount of like, gen eds in order to graduate? So like with IMG where like you're really going to school to be a fucking athlete. You know what I'm saying? And like you're taking these, like, are you meeting minimal requirements to get to graduate and go to these? I mean, I don't know how that works.
There's loopholes and shit on everything, bro. You know what I mean? I mean, it's always been loopholes. It was a kid I graduated high school with who is an All-American football player. Let me be careful on how I phrase this. Who struggled with the SAT significantly, right?
Okay.
Took it like 3 times, was not meeting the USC thing.
Mm-hmm.
You file what's called an IEP. You say, my son's in special ed. He needs academic assistance. Guess what? Now an academic tutor that you hire gets to help him take the SAT.
Help.
There's loopholes around everything in education, as there kind of should be. The loopholes are set up, these different things are set up to actually help kids with learning disabilities and who need this stuff. But it's easy to take advantage of it because high schools and school districts aren't going to sue parents. They don't, they don't do that.
Right.
Yeah, but anyway, yes, there are requirements and stuff, but there's ways to get around all of it. And a good scam is a good scam. Those are the little scams.
They pulled the scam of all scams when it comes to, we haven't seen anything like that. I'll give that to him. Like, dog, I mean, I don't feel bad for anybody. It's just funny. You know what I mean? Like, I do feel bad for the kids got their ass whooped by adults got their ass whooped by kids. That's really embarrassing. They set them up for failure. But other than that, dog, like, I love it.
It was their second game in 3 days.
I'll actually watch ESPN more
prior.
if this happened. Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I want more of this so I can actually have reasons to turn on fucking ESPN, dog.
Bro, if we had somehow knew about this scam before the game actually kicked off, that shit would have been the highest rated ESPN sporting event of the fucking year, bro. If we'd have known beforehand about this shit, man.
Can you imagine the live tweeting?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Too fun.
God bless. Thank you to the good folks at Bishop Sycamore.
Is anybody getting locked up over this? I hope not, right? None of that's happening. Yeah. It's just you got played on that. There's no real. It's not like fraud in the sense that you broke a law, right?
The coach might now, who has a felony arrest charge out.
The coach that went on national television with a warrant out, and then, quite frankly, I mean, I feel like this is the same answer to any question. Like, are the people who committed fraud black or not? You know what I mean? Like, if it's some white people who set up Bishop Sycamore, they're not going to prison over that. Like, it was the same thing with the NCAA basketball scandal, right? Oh, only the black assistant coaches at these colleges got caught up in these allegations from the FBI. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure Coach K had no idea what was going on in his program. He seems like the kind of dude who just doesn't pay attention to what's going on,
That's a great segue into our book. We do have another subject though, right? But that will be a great segue.
That's it. I just wanted to, we obviously had to talk about the bishops. And again, listen, if you see like giant tortoises that are not going viral and you tag us under that, thank you. Make sure we see stuff. But Bishop Sycamore, come on, bro. We weren't going to talk about Bishop Sycamore.
Do we have to talk about Ben Simmons? Are we?
Okay, yes. Hit us with some.
Do we care? If we don't care, we don't care, man.
Hit us with some baskety hoop talk.
I'm
down
just
the Ben Simmons situation.
How do y'all do? Who's leading this into this?
Explain it to me like I've been spending time with my kids and not paying attention to the Ben Simmons situation.
I don't really know what's happening, honestly. I think basically what happened is like the Sixers said they'll stick with Ben Simmons because nobody wants to give him an all-star player because they don't want an all-star player who's scared to be a fucking all-star when it fucking matters. You know what I mean? And now he's saying that he's not showing up for, preseason workouts and shit like that because he wants to leave as well. Do we care about that though? That's what I'm really wondering. I just was interested if anybody cared about that shit.
I think in the bigger scope of things, it's another failure of the process. You know what I mean? Like they're about to lose out on Ben Simmons. They lost out on Markelle Fultz. Basically all they're really going to have for fucking, 6-7 years of tanking is Embiid. And Embiid is a bad motherfucker. That's not to downplay him. But it's just, they didn't handle this well. Like if you are trying to trade this dude after that shitty series he had, you don't need your coach publicly saying, bro, I don't know if we can win with this guy after that. You know what I mean? Like, even if that is the truth, you're supposed to build that motherfucker up in public. You know what I mean? And whatever issues you have with how you don't think he can fit, in your scheme or whatever, you have those discussions behind closed doors with or without Ben Simmons, with coaches or management or whatever. But they tanked his value. Ben Simmons said, yo, I want to get traded. They couldn't trade him. Ben Simmons was like, bro, I was that serious. I want to get traded. I'm not coming to camp. And now here we are. You know what I'm saying? It's just a shitty situation all around from how they handled it. Basically from the fucking inception of the whole process shit to where we are now.
Doc was trying to save himself though, right? When he said that. Can we agree upon that? Like Doc felt like he was in a hot seat because it looked bad. And he was like, I don't know if I could win with him taking the fucking heat off himself, putting it on Ben, which is some whole shit in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? But like, I think Doc said that because he was trying to say himself he was in a desperate situation. It wasn't because he felt it or didn't feel it, honestly. You know what I'm saying? I think he was just thinking about self and not about, like the team as a whole. You know what I mean?
It's like it's like if you've ever had no money, like no money and no credit, there's like a specific hopelessness of not having any leverage.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're like, what am I going to do? I'm going to take out a loan and I'm going to put my body as the collateral. Like, you know what I mean?
He
like,
hold himself out.
There's nothing there. And like that's what this is. This is a situation where everyone's angry and there's no leverage. Like, we don't want this dude. We got to trade him. Well, no one fucking wants him. Yeah. Well, I don't want to be here. You got to trade me. Well, no one fucking wants you. It's just like, and like in many situations when you truly have no money, everyone's just angry. Like, it's like you're in a bad situation and there's no way for you to get out of it. You just got to sit there and be fucking poor with Ben Simmons, bro.
But you won't be poor. You'll win, just not when it matters. Like, regular season, you might be good. The man gonna be scared when the lights really turn the fuck on. You feel what I'm saying?
If Doc was smart, he would have said, Ben is suffering from an autoimmune condition that resolved itself as of just now.
If Doc was smart, he would have been fired too, probably, by not taking that heat off himself. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
if Doc was smart, he wouldn't have lost to the fucking Hawks. You know what I'm saying, bro?
So it's a lot of what ifs around this motherfucker. And so he hurt himself and his team in order him to save himself as well. Which is wild as fuck.
I've heard those conversations in my household many times. If we had done this,
nigga.
Well,
being broke sucks.
Now
dog.
You're broke and mad.
Bro, fucking dog. Dude, Christmas at the crib, nigga. Woo, shit, nigga. Niggas was looking forward to it. I'm like, nigga, arguments and fuck all of that, nigga. Anyway.
The anxiety of this is enough, right?
Right. Dog,
goddamn.
Nigga.
All right,
anyway.
We are finishing up. We read the second half of Hanif Abdurraqib's They Can't Kill Us Until They Kill Us. This was Tyler's pick. We are hoping to have him on the podcast next week. And then we will be reading Clint Smith's How the Word Is Passed the week after. And we'll discuss next week or on Sunday or something how much of it we're going to read. But we'll start on that in 2 weeks. But Tyler, why don't you jump us into talking about the second half of this book?
The second half of this book, we picked off after Fall Out Boy Forever, which was probably my favorite passage in the whole thing. So from book from Part 4 of Forward. It starts off with Ric Flair, Best Rapper Alive, which was an amazing fucking essay. Just want to talk about that for a second. It's in that essay, what Hanif did was kind of draw parallels to how rappers kind of emerge from, shitty situations. And then I had no idea about how Ric Flair's life played out here as well. Like he has no idea who his birth parents were. He was put up for adoption. Ric Flair isn't even his real name. He survived a plane crash that paralyzed a dude who he switched seats with, like right before it happened, because he was nervous about it. And it was a really good essay into kind of how a lot of shit is circumstantial, and a lot of, even greatness is circumstantial at times. We all need breaks there and shit. So I thought that was a really good essay there.
I love the Serena Williams one. Like, the one about Serena was really interesting because like talking about her dad, it was like, in the end, I think they kind of fell out. I don't want to say fell out, but she had to like part ways a little bit because he was pretty controlling. Am I being correct when I'm saying this? Okay. So, but the thing, like, it's wild. Like, it was talking about what made the dad that made Serena, right? To a degree, and part of it, right? Talking about what made Serena, what made the dad that made Serena. The things that made the dad is what helped made Serena. Also, is what helped protect Serena. But the things that made the dad also prevented him from continuing as Serena got successful. And I think that's really, as she, gained popularity and all that and grew and all that. You feel what I'm saying? I think it's really wild that the things that help us to survive or that help us to be great are the things that also can prevent us from continuing to be great in the long run. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was wild as fuck. But it also talked about how, what did she experience growing up in Compton, and how, like, knowing she's not going to be there and the joy she feels when she does win, and how it's connected to her upbringing, and how, like, people will say that's arrogant or her being haughty and shit, and how they can't fathom how that feeling feels because they've never been what she's been through and don't understand, like, how she shouldn't be here. You know what I mean? And that's not arrogance. It's like truly joy and pride, and like how her, confidence is such a big part of her success. And I want to read like the second to last paragraph. I thought it was really dope. When I talk about Serena Williams here, I need people to understand her for where she came from and not where she is now. Rather, I need people to understand her for what she was born into. I need people to understand both the whole and the sum of her parts. I need people to understand the Compton, the crack. I need people to understand the Compton, the crack cocaine, and the champion. The woman who buried her sister with the same hands she uses to bury opponents. If you do not know what she knows, then you know nothing of the ultimate reward of greatness. The way it feels when everything clicks. It's almost unfathomable to tell someone to act like they've been somewhere when they are intensely aware of the fact that they were never supposed to be there in the first place, isn't it? And I think that can be said about a lot of athletes. You know what I mean? And a lot of things, like when people are judging, act like you've been there. Bitch, I ain't supposed to fucking be here, nigga. You know what I'm saying? And maybe not just here, maybe even alive from, depending on where some of these people come from. You know what I'm saying? So I love how he put it in that way, because I'm usually just like, bitch, they did all this hard ass work to get here. They deserve to celebrate and to stand and to take in their greatness. But also, like, there's a lot of things, underlying that are in play as well. You know what I'm saying? So I love that, and I loved it for different reasons.
I would say the last, I love the first half of this book, and we were talking about it last week, but the last like 60 pages, the last like 5 essays in this book are so good. Starting from the like last 7 or 8, I think starting from my first police stop to the end of the book, it was like haymakers. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was, I asked you guys before we hopped on, like, why don't we as adult men, there's like no culture around reading books with your friends. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Women, to some extent, I think at least like in the suburbs, it's much more common for women to be part of book clubs or whatever else. But like, I don't know the last time. I mean, I send you guys books or something. When was the last time you were like, let's all read a book and talk about it? But this is so much better than fucking Netflix or most music, or like the things that it's just like it's accepted culturally that we all sort of like do together and talk about or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It was just like every single thing I was like, I'm going to have Shar read this so we can talk about it after. I'm going to have Shar read this one so we can talk about it after. Like,
bro, I told Rob, you got to read this book, man. Like I told you, like that was like the third, Prince was like the third fucking essay or some shit. I'm like, you have to read this after it's done. You know what I mean? But I don't know, bro. Like, I feel like, yeah, we'll read, but we don't ever talk about the books that we're reading too. Like, we read outside of this, but I love the fact that we are, you know, like this right here is like, I told you I haven't turned on TV for real because I'm like, this shit is so captivating, and you know what I mean? Like like books are so much better, and it gets to the point where this guy is so descriptive. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I mean, I don't feel like I'm reading anymore. I'm reading, but I'm really watching it. I see everything he's talking about. You know, like you talking about when he got.
You feel like you know him. You know what I mean? Like I really feel like I could think about an album that just came out or a life experience and imagine how he would describe it just after reading a 280-page book. You know what I mean?
Go ahead. Were you about to say?
No, I was going to say, you know, I told y'all in the group text how me and Hanif got acquainted on Twitter years back. Wipe Me Down by Boosie Fox and Webby dropped 2007. And I tweeted out like 2017. I was like, bro, we need like a 10-year appreciation post on that song. And Hanif hit me up and was like, I kind of did something like that, right? And he linked me to this essay that he wrote. Let me read the official title, called Burning That Which Will Not Save You. Wipe Me Down in the Ballad of Baton Rouge. And basically, in that essay, what he did was he kind of explored the plight of New Orleans Katrina. You know, people from New Orleans who were affected by Katrina who mass migrated to Baton Rouge, and how Baton Rouge was you know, trying to get their name known in the rap game at the time after seeing, you know, how New Orleans blew up with Cash Money and No Limit. And it was just a brilliant breakdown. And the piece the piece that really stuck with me the most here, I'm gonna read it for y'all. The first line in Wipe Me Down is one of the greatest lines in all of rap music. Fox says, I pull up at the club, VIP, gas tank on E, but all drinks on me. And he says it with his chest. It is the entire thesis of the song, distilled to a fine point. I don't have much, but what I have is yours. For this, I think of what it is to grow up poor in one of your city's worst neighborhoods and dream of money. To grow up with an eye towards gold while young black men who look like you and come from a neighborhood like the one you come from in a city just a highway away are covered in gold from rapping. That was him referencing, you know, how New Orleans blew up before Baton Rouge did. To get close enough to afford some things, but still sacrifice others. The thing I think that people get wrong about the act of the stunt is that it isn't entirely narcissistic, or at least it isn't always an act of self-worship. There's generosity in one who goes out of their way to look fly and raise the bar of the room they're in. There's generosity in having some cash in your pocket and an empty gas tank and a room full of friends who are harboring a thirst, maybe with maybe less cash in their pockets than you have in yours. To grow up poor, especially with any proximity to wealth, real or imagined, is to think sometimes that money can save you. To think that money can pull you and the people you love out of the feeling of any grief or sadness. To then get money, especially rapidly, is to find out that isn't true. It's all a myth, especially if you are of any marginalized group in America. The only answer is to dispose of that which will not save you. What Fox was really saying, I think, is that it doesn't matter how one gets home in a room full of people they love. You make your home wherever you and your people stop. And that was the shit that was Hanif's introduction to me, bro. And I was like, this motherfucker is brilliant. You know,
you felt like you were walking down the street and looked down and saw a $500,000 diamond like sitting on the fucking sidewalk. You're like, what the? This dude linked me his shit on Twitter like he had a fucking MySpace or a blog or some shit. Like,
right. So yeah, man, and he's been one of my favorite rappers since, man. I mean, writers since. Yeah.
He talks about how like us, like the like in that article, he talks about like how we all dress. And I just, it made me think about like how, like he talked about how I think Webby had a fucking 4XL shirt on and you could still see like the buckle of his jeans because he was sagging so much, right? And it's like the audacity we had to think that was fly. He talks about that shit. I was like, nigga, I remember wearing I mean, going to Foot Locker, buying like, was it 3 for $20 or 4 for $20? Fucking tall tees, nigga. I'm 5'11". Ain't shit about me tall. You know what I mean? I get the tall version of the 4XL shirt. You know what I'm saying? Like that was wild to me. The Fleetwood Mac fucking article was great too, talking about like love and like.
And I don't give a fuck about Like I literally never. I listened to that album because of that essay. But yeah, like even when he's writing about stuff where I'm like, if my best friend had sent me something like read this essay about Fleetwood Mac, I would have been like, oh yeah, I'll get to it when I can get to it. But in his book at that point, you're like, I'll literally read this dude write about anything.
Yeah.
What was the name of that? What was the name of that?
Rumors. Rumors is an all-time.
No,
great
not
album,
the album. What was it? What was the name of the essay? I'm trying to, because there was a fire ass paragraph on that shit. What page is that?
It's the last in book 4.
Page what?
165.
Okay. The last
basically, in that issue, in that essay, what he did was he likened the composition of Rumors, which the background story on that. Okay, Fleetwood Mac has 5 members. There were 2 couples, right? Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buchanan, and
which is crazy.
And Stevie Nicks was a vocalist. Lindsey Buchanan was a keyboardist, I think, or guitar player. I don't know which one. And then there was another couple, LaVie's, I think, Caroline LaVie or some shit. But anyway, she was a vocalist and he was a bass player. So these 2 couples were breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was, Mick Fleetwood, who was, also a vocalist in that. And his wife was cheating on his best friend at that time during the time they were recording this. So basically, you had 2 couples, fucking crumbling that were in the group at the same time. And then, you had the male vocalist whose marriage was also crumbling due to outside forces. And they were all kind of holding together, working on this. And he likened it to how he had a friend who moved in with his girlfriend. Mm-hmm. 3 months into their year lease, they broke up and it was just hell for them for those last 9 months, right? And he likened it to how sometimes the hardest thing about a breakup is how you can't get away from that person, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, or whatever. It was a brilliant piece.
And he talked about, he said to him, it would have been hell those last 9 months of the lease. But he was distinctly remembers them being really sad when they broke, when after the lease was up, when they both moved. And it was like, there's ends of things and then there's the end of things. But this is the last paragraph. I want to read this because I just thought it was really interesting. I thought the way he summed it up was fire. My favorite photo of the band from the Rumors era was taken by Annie Leibovitz for the March 1977 Rolling Stone cover. The same month the album was released. The band is sprawled on a queen mattress that is resting on the floor. Mick Fleetwood, the glue in the middle, his long limbs stretching from the top of the mattress to the bottom, a single sheet covering everyone. Buckingham has Christine McVie in it. Is it McVie or McVie? What's how you spell? McVie in his arms, a hand in her hair. Christine's hand is outstretched, reaching over to touch Fleetwood's foot. Nick's is resting on Fleetwood's bare chest, her legs draped over John McVie's stomach. John McVie is unbothered, reading a magazine. The joke is that they were always too connected to let each other go so easily. I like to think of this as a great lesson hiding in Rumors. There are people we need so much that we can't imagine turning away from them. People we've built entire homes inside of ourselves for that cannot stand empty. People we still find a way to make magic with, even when the lights flicker and the love runs entirely out. Bro, those last 4 sentences. I mean, but that is real, bro. Like, there's people in my life, you know what I'm saying, who I don't love in the same way, but I've built places in myself for them that will just be empty, that won't be filled by someone else. You know what I mean? And like it's really wild to see somebody put that in words so eloquently, explaining me and how I feel to me, nigga. You know what I'm saying? And he did the same thing when you, Mike, you were talking about this with the white liberals versus white, conservatives, and the similarities in their racism, how they act. But like he was talking about, like there was one lady in Baltimore talking about,
she was on the phone talking about I forget
Freddie Gray. Was it
about what?
Was it Gray?
Yeah, I think she was talking about a police shooting and about how horrible it was. And as she was talking to her friend about this, she put her bags down on Hanif, like sitting on a bench, literally didn't see that he was there. That essay for me was like, I said to you guys, those are conversations I've had with friends of mine, but that I've never seen anyone articulate, and certainly not articulate so well. But the three of us have talked about it. The blackout squares on Instagram, and I live in the suburbs in Long Beach, and I go around, and every house has in this house we believe that blah 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 is blah blah blah, and it's like you see all that stuff and you go, okay, but if you really believe that, wouldn't things be different? If you really, but the way he wrote about that, the sort of like internalized versus externalized racism was, it felt like an X-ray on being a white liberal dude in a white liberal area in a not white liberal city. It was like an X-ray on everyone. It was really, really, really moving to me, that whole essay. I thought he captured it perfectly.
I think the thing that's interesting is like, I think this is what makes you different too, is like, even though you're a liberal white person, you grew up around black people. So you have a lot of liberals, they have just as little interaction with black people as conservatives. You know what I mean? Like,
except there's an idea. And it's an idea that they like difference. Versus an idea that they don't like, right? Right.
So like he was just as invisible by this woman that didn't like the idea of police brutality, but in her everyday acts, like she might grab her purse if she saw a black dude too. You know what I mean? So it's like, and these are things we've been talking about on social media and whatnot, but this dude breaks it down in ways where, like, in that white liberal neighborhood where he was pulled over by the cops, where, they all, were liberal leaning, somebody still called the cops on his ass. You feel what I'm saying? And they still didn't go to assist and help him, and they still didn't really interact with the black neighborhoods that surrounded them. They just saw them. You know what I mean?
And so, we're proud that they live near them.
But
you know what I mean?
Would not want that. But when those neighborhoods leaked in to their neighborhood, they were just as uncomfortable as a conservative white. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's really interesting to see it put in this way where, like, somebody he breaks down a lot of things that we're thinking, that we understand and we feel, but we can't explain.
It feels like an impassioned, like 1 a.m. conversation you have with your friend after you've had a great night together.
He's smoking a cigarette.
And someone
gotta be smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, and someone took that and turned it into an essay that you could actually read at 11 a.m. on a wet. You know what I mean? That's what was so incredible about it to me. Tyler, I know we're wrapping up here in a couple of minutes. Do you have anything else you wanted to share? And then obviously we'll put out there. We're gonna ask for some reader questions for when we know we're gonna have Hanif on, but we'll figure that out. I don't know if we're gonna we'll probably do that via email. So we'll put that out there at some point in the next day or two. But Tyler, do you want to wrap up sort of talking about the book?
Phenomenal book. It's I've read just about everything Hanif has done, and it's my favorite work of his. I love the continual theme in this book of, juxtapositioning music into real life shit. You know what I mean? Like pretty much every essay, the underlying theme is music. And, where he was at that point in his life when this music came out, or how this certain, piece of music hit him and how it correlated to a certain life experience and such. It's just, it's fucking brilliant, man. I don't you throw that word brilliant around, but I'm just a huge Hanif fan. He's one of my favorite rappers out there, man. Writers. Again, I keep calling him a rapper. He's one of my favorite writers out there. And I'm very much looking forward to having him on here. I think that's going to be a great conversation.
He gives me the same feeling I get when I read, and I'm not comparing the two, but James Baldwin. You know what I mean? Where like, when I'm reading it, I'm like, how the fuck is he explaining it this well? You know what I mean? Like, these are very complex things that he's breaking down, you know what I'm saying, to like its most minute, you know what I mean? Like, parts. And I felt the same way when reading this. Like, damn, like how he's breaking this shit down is just so beautiful and eloquent. You know what I mean? So, But yeah, I get the same feeling. Like I said, I'm not compared to two. You know, we you know what I'm saying? Like, but I am.
All right, that's our time for Jenkins and Jonez today. We'll be back on Monday with the Booger Boy of the Week and all kinds of other. We'll see what happens in the saga of Ben Simmons and the 76ers.
We don't give a fuck, man. We don't give a fuck.
We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.